Everybody, it's Terry Lucas of TerifiCreations. I am your Chief Creative Weirdo, and today I am here with Jamie and Jessica from SewTites. And what's the quilt shop name?
Out of Hand.
Out of Hand. Oh, Out of Hand. And so you guys want to follow them on both SewTites and on Out of Hand's site, because in the SewTite, in the Out of Hand, she's got fabric from years and years and years ago. So if you're looking for something, that's the place to look. All right, ladies. So this is going to be a quick interview, and it'll be a lot of fun. So Jessica, let's start with you today. What's your favorite ice cream?
Probably Rocky Road would be my favorite.
And Jamie, I'll edit that part out. And Jamie?
Rocky Road.
Oh,
weird. We can tell you we're sisters.
That's right. You are sisters.
Yes.
Right. Oh, okay. Who's the older?
By 20 months. And I really, really drove that home as children because everyone always thought she was older than me, which I hated.
Are you shorter?
But now I think that's to your benefit.
Yeah. Although I don't think, people don't know that we're sisters. I think we look somewhat alike, but a lot of people, they don't see it because we, like the blonde. Now she's got curly hair. She didn't used to have curly hair. So, now it's a little bit more translatable for people. I think she used to be the blonde straight and I was the dark curly, and it was like.
Yes, sometimes siblings can look absolutely nothing alike.
Yeah.
Nothing alike.
Yeah.
All right. Jessica, what do you do with SewTites, or what do you do with your company?
So SewTites, for people who aren't familiar with them, they are we call them a magnetic sewing pin, quote unquote. They're an alternative to straight pins or clips when straight pins or clips won't work for one reason or another. So we had a different business prior to this that was a fabric subscription box, and we did kits that were like bag kits and quilt kits. And Jamie was making a bag one time, trying to do a tutorial for it, and for the people who were subscribed to that box. And she was sewing a leather handle on a bag and couldn't use a clip because it was away from an edge, and didn't want to use a straight pin because it would put a permanent hole in it. And she happened to use magnets for, keeping things together, pinning things together while she sewed. And I don't even really know why she told me the idea, like that she had done that. I think she was just like, look how clever I am. Look at the thing I did. And I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. That has to be like a problem other people have. But it just kind of sat there for a year. But then we went to QuiltCon in Pasadena in 2018, and we were looking for something to hand out to people to get them to come into the booth. So we decided to prototype the idea, just had these ugly black, like not even pretty ones, stuck them on business cards. We named them. We had to come up with, we call them magnetic sewing pins, but the category didn't even exist then. So we just kind of were like, well, I think that's the closest thing to get people to understand what they are. And we also came up with a bunch of names, and then SewTites was one of them and was the one that we stuck with and still stuck with. And yeah, and then we just handed them out, and I think we ran out, and I think we took 1,000 or 1,500, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe. And we ran out of them in a day and a half. Once people had the aha moment of what they could do for them, they started bringing their friends to the booth. And it was great for our other business at the time as well, but it was also like, oh, I think this is a good idea. And so we went home and had our first manufacturing run, and that was just our original, the turquoise one. And then we sent them out to subscribers of our box, and then sent them, I think, some samples to industry friends and things that we had made thus far in the business. And people started using them for English paper piecing. Kitty Wilkin with Night Quilter, she's Night Quilter on Instagram, was one of the first, the one who actually was like, I think these would work for this. And then in a few months later, distributors started calling us to carry our products, and we were like, oh, this is maybe really a good idea. So it's just kind of snowballed from there as far as different models and products and uses. So we have kind of a full product line now.
Jamie, what can you explain the depth of the product line? Like how many different varieties of SewTites and how can we use them? I should really ask simpler questions.
I haven't really been the best business partner for the last year since I bought this job. But anyway, no, we have 13 models. And
14,
they,
I think.
oh shit. See, told you. They range in strength. Like we just released our light collection this last fall, which has 3 different models in it, and that's for people that really struggle with arthritis, and because you have to slide the back off. And of course, I don't have one.
Right here.
And
oh wait, Jessica does.
so people with I know. See, people that have arthritis struggle to slide that back off of the magnets. There's the light collection there, and so that diamond was actually our lightest one, and those ones are really more for like handwork. You can use them for bags, but usually for bags you need something stronger. So those ones are really for like, you know, wool applique, English paper piecing, just to hold those pieces together so you don't get like hand cramp as you're stitching your pieces together. And the light bar and the starlight and our mini, actually, they all have 2 magnets, so they can straddle a seam. So if you're like doing a curve with English paper piecing and need to flat back stitch, it'll hold it together like so. And then like the 3 original, there you go. The 3.
I'm gonna be Vanna.
I know. The original, the teal one, and the mini are good for bag making as long as you're not using stuff that's like super thick. You know, it'll do 2 layers of cotton, fusible fleece, and cork just fine. There you go, right there. And then our originals weren't strong enough for Annie's soft and stable. So when we were like talking about the SewTites with Annie and her team, you know, they were like, well, these really aren't strong enough for soft and stable. So then we came up with the HD, and that is our strongest one that we have. It'll go through 2 layers of soft and stable. You just give it a little squish and it'll adhere. And you know, great for vinyl, cork, if you're, you know, because if you're putting on vinyl, you can't pin it, obviously. Sometimes you can clip it, but sometimes the clips can also leave marks. And then we have a model that we came up with just for long armors, called our Magnum. It's our longest one. And that people use it for either loading on their frame. They'll like sew the metal backs into their leader every 4 to 6 inches or so, and then when they go to load their top, all they have to do is snap on the then they just have to
right now.
That's if I were loading it onto my long arm, that's probably what it would look like. So
yeah. And then they can also they've also been used to like just hold the leader, like the sides if your leader is too long and flapping around, or if you're doing a lot of ruler work, you can there's a tutorial, I think it's Adam So Fun. Is it his tutorial or is it someone else's?
No, her name's Barb Tartara. She's a handy quilter educator though also.
Okay.
And I don't know if
it's
I'm
like
saying her last name right, but she's in the article.
Right. It's a like fabric clip using, I think, our HDs, not the Magnums, so that it'll hold the sides of the quilt taut as you do ruler work, and then they don't get in your way as much with the rulers.
Right.
And then we kind of have a couple of like accessory items. One of them is our sticklers. They're just a silicone little sticker that goes on the back, and that you know, we had people, you know, because people EPP a lot in the car or on the couch, and they were losing the backs like down into the so it's just like a little gripper that holds it. You know, if you were to put it on your leg in the car as you're switching up your pieces or whatever, it would help it to not like slide off and get lost. And then the other accessory that we just launched this last QuiltCon is called our Digits, and they're little numbered stickers 1 through 25. And then there's 25 blank ones. Like if you were to need alphabet letters instead of numbers, you could write on there bigger numbers. That way, if you're like prepping a whole bunch of pieces or cutting a whole bunch of one piece, you could use your SewTites to hold them all together and then just number them. And then the other accessory item is our little hold tight folio. It's a free pattern on our website from the Liliella is the one on Instagram, is the one that came up with the pattern. And then in the 2 flappies is there's metal in there, and that you just hold your SewTites in there. And so we sell, and Liliella sells just the metal, because some people can't or don't want to source their own metal to put in there. So the pattern is free, but then we do have the metal for it.
Yeah.
Did I miss any?
You didn't miss any models, but just like a use that's really gotten to be big is people are using mainly the originals for floating their fabrics in their machine embroidery hoops. And so it's replacing like adhesives, especially those sprays. Like people are like, I've been breathing that in for how many years. And so now this makes it so that they can do away with adhesive sprays or tapes while they're floating. And again, it's just the metal back on the magnetic or and the magnetic top. And then you just move it to the edge, obviously. So it's out of where you're stitching. You do have to choose the correct model for that. If it's too thin, the bottom can, like the residual magnetic force can still get, if you have a metal throat plate, it can get caught and pull things apart. Because like the HD is a really good model if if these aren't quite strong enough. And then, but this is the most popular model. Last weekend we did do Sew Expo, virtual Sew Expo. And there was a customer in there who had said that even this model was kind of getting pulled apart for her. We don't get that feedback very often. We have tons of people using this model for almost all of their embroidery projects, but I did suggest to her that she maybe then give like the light bar, the yellow light bar, one of our new products, a try for those really thin embroidery projects. But I think that's about it. People are using them for cosplay, you know, like when they're using vinyl, again, that vinyl, leather, new materials that they don't want to put a pinhole through, or like if something's in the middle of their, like a, you know, something that they're sewing, they can hold it on there while they, I'm sorry, a patch or something like that.
Yeah, I can see that actually being a lot easier for doing a patch in the middle for a couple of reasons. Number one, it just keeps it flat. You know, because when you pin, you get this little bubble. And if you're trying to get something right in a particular space, then that holding it flat and maybe even using just 1 or 2 strategically, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Okay. Totally brilliant concept. I just have to tell you about.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome. What magazines are you being featured in right now with, or what magazines are you working with to advertise?
So we don't actually pay for a lot of advertising, which is great.
Yes.
Turns out like the industry as a whole like loves to talk about notions, because there's just not really there aren't really a lot of new notions that people end up, I mean, I don't know how to say this nicely, but it sounds like from the feedback I get that a lot of people end up really liking using. I mean, obviously there are always new rulers and templates, I believe, coming out, things like that, which are useful, but like tools, you know, notions in and of themselves. And so we do have like a collection, you know, kind of a list of magazines that we send samples and sort of press releases to every time we come out with a new product. And we've been featured in Threads and I mean, I can't even remember. We haven't really, I can't remember who's recently featured us.
We were in American Quilter. It's been a while, but
yeah,
American Quilter. There was several.
Better Homes,
right at the beginning, there was several, but since then,
Better Homes and Gardens, Quilts and More. Then like Designs and Machine Embroidery, and various things, it just kind of depends. There's also a French publication and they're published in France and the US. Can't recall the name right now.
Quiltmania.
Have to look.
Quiltmania.
Quiltmania?
She's right.
Oh yeah, and they've featured us as well. So I should probably put that one on the website actually, because I think that's a pretty recognizable one. I haven't updated the website pretty much since we started, so
Well, as long as you're getting your
functional.
new product up there, I think you're doing really well.
So.
And all right, so for each of you, which is your particular favorite or your go-to of the SewTites, and what is the coolest project that you've ever done with the SewTites?
Jamie, you want to know what Jessica's gonna say?
I think Jamie should start this conversation.
My go-to is the mini. I mostly make bags and English paper piece. So my go-to for English paper piecing is the mini, just because it can do most sizes. As the piece gets bigger and heavier, I might reach for something else like the original, just because it's longer. But my go-to is the mini. And then for bag making, well, it depends on what I'm doing, but either the HG, the original, or even the mini, because the mini, although smaller, it's stronger than the original. The magnets on it are bigger. So it just depends on what I'm doing, because like Jessica said, you have to match the SewTite for your project, because otherwise it will want to stick to your plate, which is not less than ideal. And then probably the like coolest thing, I guess, would be our collaboration with Tula Pink and Libs Elliott, because those are both, like I fangirl. So so that it was pretty cool to be able to work with people like that.
Okay, good. And Jessica?
So my top secret, but I share it all the time, so it's not really a secret, is I don't really sew. I have made one quilt in my entire life, and I actually finished it last year? But it took me 3 years to finish. It is a king size quilt, so it was very big, but and so I have basically learned all of this lingo and learned about the industry, and it's beautiful. I absolutely love modern quilts. QuiltCon is my favorite show, because I'm a graphic designer. That's my thing. And also drawing is my creative outlet. And every now and then I love everything I see, but I just don't end up doing much of it. I get frustrated. So sewing is not my release at this point. I'm still trying to learn, but for now I'm just kind of I'm the designer and the brander of SewTites, and I know how to talk about them. But if you have a really specific question, I may not be able to answer it.
I kind of get that. I think personally, I have to give you props, because you've learned enough about the sewing and quilting community that you can give that kind of direction without actually having done some of these projects. Not for nothing, a king size quilt is huge.
And it turned out awesome too.
Yeah, well, our mom, so Jamie learned, we grew up with our mom quilting and sewing costumes and all the time, and Jamie kind of, I always tried again, I would make a few things here and there. And Jamie too, we didn't do a lot when we were young, but then when she grew up, was getting married, I believe she sewed her first quilt for her husband, right?
When I was in college, yeah.
When you were called.
For Brent's 25th birthday, and he's going to be 40 here in a couple weeks. So.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, that was my first quilt. But
yeah, and so she kind of then continued to fall in love with it, and it's her outlet and everything. And I don't know where I was going with that, but that's
Mom helped you finish your quilt.
Oh yeah, so my mom was there every time I was doing anything. Jamie to help me, we were trying to do tutorials for a little bit for our fabric subscription box, which we ended up shutting down after SewTites started taking off. We just realized that was where we needed to go. And Jamie kind of coached me through the cutting part, but then I had my mom there for the whole sewing aspect, because I was like, I'm gonna do this the one time probably, and it better be good, because it's gonna take me forever. And it turned out great. It's like, and it's the coolest thing about it is that it's a Libs Elliott pattern, which we obviously adore her, and we work with her now as well. But and then the fabric is Alison Glass, and who else? Is it just Alison Glass?
Just Alison Glass. Yeah.
I think it's all Alison Glass, which is really cool too, because we've met her and know her as well. So it's just kind of cool that like the quilt on my bed, I know I made and know everyone who made everything about it. So it's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool. Okay, for both of you, outside of Libs Elliott, Tula Pink, Alison Glass, who are some of the people that you've met who have had an impact on your own work? And now, Jessica, I'm asking you this was there anybody outside of the group that you've already talked about who's helped develop product for you, like said, I really need a SewTite that looks like this? And for Jamie, it's who is another influencer who has really influenced your own quilting? And since your sister's
Do you want me to go first, or Jamie? Who's going first?
You know what? You're drinking, Jamie gets to go first.
Well, I don't know. I mean, as far as my own quilting, I don't really sew that much anymore. But actually,
I'm shocked by that.
Since I bought the store, you know, because I'm a modern quilter at heart, while I appreciate other quilts that are, you know, they're long-term commitments to, you know, they take a year or two to make. I appreciate that. I am an instant gratification. Like I want to I did this one, so I want to sew it and get it done. This one is more a labor of love, but both are from Jen Kingwell. And so I think that's someone that has really broadened my personal horizons since I had heard of her and everything, but I hadn't truly followed her craft. And since then, it's been a big influence. So
nice. And Jessica?
So really, it is true that so we started with the one, as far as SewTites go, we started with the one model and we thought of it for bag making. And then I did mention Kitty Wilkin, Night Quilter, saying send me some of those for English paper piecing. And then she started talking about them, but then they were too big. So we made them. I don't think we actually maybe didn't talk about the dot. This is a little small one that people love for English paper piecing and applique as well. So we did those two models. Then we worked with Sarah Thomas of Sariditty. She's really, we kind of had a lot of people suggest to us the long arm idea. We just, she really kind of pushed us to pursue it. And she's been a great sort of purporter of the product, the Magnum. And then we've really enjoyed working with Nicole. Like I said, we've said most of these. Another person that we haven't talked about much that was really amazing, two people for embroidery, Sue O'Very Pruitt, who is Sookie Sews on social and YouTube. She has a pretty good YouTube following. She did some really early on, started using them for embroidery, and then did some great YouTube tutorials and things like that. She's actually getting ready to do some more about our new models and things in the next few weeks. And then a gal named Lisa Shaw, and that's actually how I met you, Terry, was the connection there. Gosh, she was just it was 2 years ago at the 2020 Sew Expo, and we actually weren't there. Jamie and I weren't there. We sent some friends of ours who we'd kind of trained, haphazardly trained. Again, they're not they don't really sew much, but we told them what to say and how to demo the products. And they went to Sew Expo because we had just been at QuiltCon the week before, and we both have small children. So we were we're not going to be gone for 2 weeks straight. And so they went to Sew Expo, and then Lisa happened to be there, I think teaching, and she was walking the show and she saw the booth, and she had already been using them. I think just recently had started using them. And she just like did this magical thing of like going and talking to her whole audience live, like multiple times during the show, talking about how they worked for machine embroidery. And we were just like, who is this lady? Like, and it was like this magical, thing that she just raved about her products to her audience, and then really helped explain from somebody who truly knows. I mean, we do our best with this, but she really talked through the details, and so that just kind of skyrocketed. Like that made that show just, I think our gals almost sold out at the show. Plus we had huge spike on online sales, and even through our distributors and wholesalers, because people started seeing that purpose. So she's been somebody who's been really great, and we're grateful for. And even just like random things that happen. I mean, we've really missed market because there's so much that comes that's really intangible at those experiences. We're really good friends. You mentioned you saw the tour Jamie did with Brimfield Awakening, and they've been just really fun people to collaborate with, learn from together, share knowledge. The people at Paper Pieces, Jess, they've just been wonderful. We've just met a lot of people too, met a lot of friends. And I actually think Casey of ByAnnie's team, so when we first started our packaging, like we had them stuck with adhesive to the front card, because like if they didn't, at first we had them just like the back pinching the card, but they would slide because they're magnetic. And so, all the shipping and things, they would not look very good in the package. And so then we used adhesive. Well, then our, manufacturing team used adhesive that was so strong, we couldn't get it off. We call it a sticky mess. We actually still have some lingering inventory and so that was like, and a lot of people were really upset by it, but honestly at that point we were still so much in the startup phase that if we had tried to remanufacture that lot, we would have been out of business. And so it was just like we put a card in there like, super sorry, you're gonna have to use really strong acetone fingernail polish remover to get this off and stuff. But luckily we figured it out. But anyway, he just happened to say, well, why don't you die cut the card, like in passing at a show? And I was like, oh, duh. Like I'm a designer, I've done packaging. I didn't even think of that, but that made it so that like our, just that little thing that comes from people just talking to you. And, there's just lots of customers too that have said, I love this, can you try this or whatnot? And it just spurs more and more ideas. So
sweet.
I hope we're not missing anybody, because whoever we are, we're sorry. Like we love you.
I think most people would get it. It's in an interview setting or in almost any setting like this. It's hard to get everybody. Like even in like doing articles or writing books or whatever, you go through the thank you list. It's like I guarantee you there's somebody that's been missed along the way, and it's not intentional, and they know that you still love them. So okay. So Jamie, why don't you tell us your website for the shop and where people can purchase the SewTites? And then I know we both have to dash. So
so SewTites is SewTites.com, SewTites.com. And then my shop is outofhandquilting.com. We are in Canada, Calgary. We're in the southwest part of Calgary. We do ship internationally. But yeah, we carry SewTites here in the store too, obviously. But I don't know, it's always something weird to like talk about when, here, buy my product.
That's actually just so you remember, this is actually part of the reason why we're doing this interview, is to help introduce people and get them to purchase your product.
I know, but when they're like in the store buying a bunch of other things, it's like, oh, how about this tool would really help you? Even if it does, it still feels weird to be like,
Yeah.
Please also buy my product. But
She's
yeah.
also had some people be very fangirly, come into the store and not know that she was the one that manufactured it or knew, and then like we're very excited that they were there
It's like,
for her.
oh, it's so nice to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, one gal
Yeah.
like recently came in and was like telling Jamie how amazing SewTites were, and I was like explaining to her, you know, how to use them. And Jamie was like, "Yeah, I know, they're mine," and she was like, "I just think
I don't
what did she say? Something like, I just feel like I just met a celebrity or something."
something.
All right.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And Jessica, where in the States can people get them? And are you guys running any specials right now or anything? And no is perfectly fine on that question, if you know.
Yeah, so you can, like Jamie said, you can buy them on our website. We do have like for first time customers, we have like a little pop-up window that if you sign up for our email list, you can buy one, get one 50% off. And then we obviously don't spam. We only send like one email a month, if that, about new product releases, specials. We're going to hopefully be doing some more education moving up, and so there might be a little bit more, but that's kind of our main, like our only special. And then we don't unfortunately know every local quilt shop that carries or online store that carries our products, because we do sell through Checker distributors. We wholesale directly as well, but most of the shops just buy direct from Checker. It's just easier, obviously, for them. And so we don't really know everybody that carries them, but you can just kind of Google, or you can ask your local quilt shop and they can get them in, because pretty much every local quilt shop has an account with Checker. And yeah, and so those are the ways. They are on Amazon, but that's actually through us. A lot of people don't realize that like sometimes you're buying from a small business on Amazon, and that's us on Amazon. So you can buy through Amazon, or you can come to our website and, you know, get the discount code and then check out. So
And what are your social media handles?
so SewTites is just at SewTites, SewTites.
Okay.
And Jamie,
All right. And Jamie,
do you want to do
Out of hand quilting.
Okay,
Out of hand quilting.
perfect.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, thank you for joining me today. We've been trying to get this accomplished since October or early November at some point. It is really wonderful, and I'm looking forward to getting to buying the ones for the long arm for holding my quilts together. So thank you again for joining me. I will put all the links in the show notes, and I look forward to talking with you guys again soon.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
You're
thank
welcome.
Chat
you.
with you. Appreciate it. All right,
Bye.
take care. Bye.